Hey cuties, what's up? We're back with some more reactions after dark, and we're of course going to be watching The Disturbing Internet Horrors of China, Volume 4, obviously by Question. How long has it been since we've done a last question thing? I'm assuming it was the Texas thing, which I think actually wasn't too long ago. I don't know when the last time it was that we did Volume 3 for China. I'm pretty sure we did Volume 3, right? So yeah, Volume 4's newest upload from Question. I saw that Stephanie had another Rotten Mango video. I think it was a Rotten Mango video, right? So yeah, new Rotten Mango video. So I don't know if I'll get around to that anytime soon. Question mark. Because that video's like almost 2 hours long. So the reaction to that's going to be over 2 hours, I would assume. So I was like, that's kind of rough. Been avoiding doing anything that's too long, obviously. Yeah, no hater segment today, no radical break. Also the QR code there on the screen, that's for my throne if you want to go help out and get anything for the channel or what have you, or just anything on there for me. Obviously, I mean, I have a whole section for like my dad, so anything for him, anything for me, etc, etc. I don't think I have anything else to say today. Question mark. I was supposed to be doing something today, like I had an appointment, but I'm guessing that's not going to go through because should have gone to that in 25 minutes. Technically should have left a long time ago, like half an hour ago, but nothing has happened, so I'm just like, okay, I guess we're just not going to do that today. So here we are, doing this instead. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Again, I wonder if there's anything I'm going to already have known, because a lot of times it does seem that I just know a lot of these stories ahead of time, no matter what case it might be, or what section, or what location is what I mean by that, you know. As usual, we have the little Chinese themed intro, or technically a location based intro. Because they're always, they always have to do with the location that they're in. Like if it's Mexico, Texas, Florida, whatever, it's this intro reflects that. Of course, disclaimer and all that. Viewer discretion is advised. La-di-da. And oh yeah, the Chinese one. The Chinese viewers are the only ones who get this wall of text, which is this is not meant to offend or what have you, something like that, right? It's like, why doesn't anyone else get the hey, this is not to offend disclaimer? Why is it only Chinese viewers? No one else gets that treatment.
It's September 2016, and you're in Beijing. It's late.
Oh yeah, what is this called? Ghost drivers.
Late afternoon, and you're trying to get across the city. You open Uber. You enter your destination. The app spins for a second, and then finally, you're matched. A driver close by, already on his way. His name loads, his car details, and then his profile picture. You look at it, but something is wrong with the face. The eyes are hollow, or the skin is gray and cracked. Or the
is it? Oh, it's okay. This
just far enough past human that your stomach drops before you even figure out why. So you decide to hit the cancel button. The ride ends, and the driver never shows up.
It's like an analog horror faces, I'm guessing, like anomaly faces.
You think you maybe just got unlucky, that your driver
alternate, I guess that's a word that's used, right? An alternate.
Driver was a very strange looking person. But what you didn't know yet was this was actually the plan. The driver was never going to pick you up. The photo was specifically designed to make you cancel. And now, because of a policy built for a completely different situation, he made money off of your fear. If you multiply that by thousands of riders, dozens of cities, and months of it happening across multiple cities such as Beijing and Shanghai, the screenshots of the photos flooding Weibo, people comparing notes, asking if anyone else had seen these faces.
The one on the right is just a regular person, question mark. And a lot of them is like, is that really that spooky? Like the one on the left, it looks like they're wearing black lipstick. That's a plus for me, question mark. Guy in the middle, I'm guessing it's just supposed to be, his mouth is like open in a weird way, and it's pointed downwards, I guess. But again, the woman question mark on the right is just a normal person. That is just a normal person.
Discovering that, yeah, a lot of people actually have. And this incident was known as the ghost driver phenomenon. Uber arrived in China in 2014 and immediately ran into something that it had not fully prepared for: Didi. Didi was the dominant local ride-hailing platform, backed by Alibaba. It was deeply embedded in Chinese consumer habits, and not really remotely interested in seeding its market into an American company. And what followed over the next 2 years was both companies bleeding money at a scale that made headlines globally. Billions of dollars in subsidies, bonuses, and incentives, all aimed at the same goal: get more drivers on your platform, get more riders using it, and make the other company unsustainable. And for drivers, the incentive was real and significant. Uber China in particular was offering bonus structured around trip completion, drive enough rides in a day, hit certain targets, and the payouts on top of base fares could turn ride-hailing into genuinely lucrative work. Platforms were essentially paying people to exist on them. And when you start paying people to exist on a platform, some of those people will look for the shortest path between receiving money and not doing the work.
Sure.
The first report started trickling around mid-2016, and by September, in the weeks leading up to the Mid-Autumn Festival, when travel demands and the platforms were pushing hard on the driver recruitment, they had
This is bikes. These are like rentable bikes or just actual bikes? So like rentable, motored vehicles, question mark. And by that I mean like what bikes and scooters and whatever have been a thing for like a decade at least now. So this is what these yellow bikes are? But just like, here's where you put them, and they're just thrown on the ground. It's like, yeah, just throw your rented bike down. Are you done with it? Just throw it on the ground. Like that bike's literally in the street in front of a car. Assuming this is even real and not like a 3D render, but I don't think it is. That car in front of the bike just looks weird. Like, I don't know why the front of the car is so elongated.
become a flood. Riders across Beijing, Shanghai, Tianjin, and many other cities were posting their same experience across Weibo. They opened Uber, requested a ride, got matched almost instantly, and when the driver's profile photo loaded, it was wrong. It wasn't wrong immediately, but something was always off with the face. Many riders describing stretched, distorted features, hollow eyes, very pale grayish skin with cracked lips, sometimes what looked like to be blood, almost zombie faces, demonic faces, images that looked like they were pulled straight from a horror film, making it almost not human. And this would make most riders cancel immediately. The moment the photo loaded, your instinct would take over. You'd cancel, get out, and try not to think about it. And the ride would end before the driver even ever showed up. And the driver themselves would collect a fee, usually about 8 to 15 yuan, about roughly 1 to 2 US dollars.
Okay, so you're gaining $2 for a cancellation? Is that really lucrative? Question mark? How many people are going to be canceling in a day? I feel like that's nothing.
Without ever leaving their seat, without
Unless it's the same person with like 1 million accounts. Well then, okay, then it's like, okay, that's $1 million.
burning any fuel, and without spending more than just a few seconds waiting for the next match to come in. And that small money individually, across a full day of a dense city where rides came in constantly, they started to build something really real. And Uber's cancellation policy at the time was the hinge the whole thing turned on. If a rider canceled after a driver had been dispatched, the driver received a fee regardless if any driving had actually occurred. And the policy existed for actual legitimate reasons.
Discovered here in this B-roll, I want this vehicle that he has, this like, I guess it's like a this tricycle bike with like I don't want to say trunk spaces. I don't know what to call that. Just the space on the back of it.
Drivers lose time when riders decide to cancel.
See, it's like a 3-wheeler with a big amount of space in the back to go get stuff, right? Can you buy one of those over here? I don't know. Like, I would actually like one of these. I was thinking about it whilst, you know, since the last time we saw this vehicle, that I was like, can I get one of these over here? The only issue would be like stopping at red lights and what have you would be dangerous, I would assume, since you have all your stuff. Like if you go to the groceries, right, and you just have a full thing of groceries, assuming it's not like completely just, I'm assuming you would have it like netted off or something with some sort of thing on top to keep the stuff from falling out, but that's not what I mean. Like that's not why I would be worried. It's like as soon as you stop at like a red light, if there's some like crazy person nearby, they're gonna run up to you, try to steal this vehicle, or steal the stuff out of your back of your little compartment there. Like that's what I would be worried about. So like, oh, this is cool. I kind of want one of these, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm gonna get robbed 24/7 if I drive one of these, wouldn't I? I don't know.
And the fee was meant to compensate for that. And the ghost driver approach was simple. Upload a profile picture disturbing enough that riders would cancel on sight. You accept the match, wait, and you collect the fee while the frightened rider bails. And you move on to the next one and continue. In an urban area where rides are matched every few minutes, this generated meaningful income. Some even pushed it farther. Rather than waiting for the rider to cancel, they would accept the ride, trigger the trip in the app to start the fare meter, and end it a minute or two later, collecting a minimum fare for the trip they never actually drove. But either way, the driver was farming fees from people who never got where they were going. And what made the photo spread so fast across social media?
See, with this one, it's just like, sure, the eyes are slightly modified, but not enough to be like creeped out. It could just be a bad photo. And the lips, I don't know if that's supposed to be like a wide open mouth or lips, because at a glance, it could just look like lips. So it's like, okay, they got like big lips, so what?
Was the specific quality of wrongness that they carried, the faces all being uncanny. Some are very subtle, but some almost just look unhuman.
Yeah, like again, some of the subtlety makes it like, why would they ever cancel on someone who is like subtly just slightly different? Like it's not very. They needed to go further than that and like make it true, like alternate, doppelganger, Mandela effect nonsense. Mandela catalog, sorry, not Mandela effect. Mandela catalog, analog horror esque. And not just like, the eyes are slightly off, you know, deep black. Lips are bigger than usual, or it's like, looks like their mouth is open, what have you. Like full Mandela catalog is what they should have gone with.
And many writers described,
though, I'm guessing this was like a decade ago, so I'm guessing Mandela catalog didn't exist yet. Or the idea of alternates in analog horror in general? Question mark. Did it? I don't know.
the feeling as visceral, instantaneous.
This might have predated analog horror.
Some almost just look unhuman.
As far as like the alternate kind of analog horror goes.
And many writers describe the feeling as visceral, instantaneous. One Weibo user wrote that she canceled so fast she barely registered what she'd seen until her hands were shaking. Another said the photo made him feel physically sick before he actually understood why. And the scam worked because the photos were wrong enough just in a way to make you second guess if he really wanted to get in the same car as this person. And in response, Uber China acknowledged the problem and made multiple moves to try to address it. The most significant change was facial recognition. This made it more significantly harder to actually distort your profile image. Many accounts were flagged for being fraudulent or suspicious, and many were banned. The writers who complained about ghost driver encounters were typically offered refunds. But eventually in August of 2016, Uber sold its China operations to Didi, ending its 2-year war. And with that, the phenomenon almost completely disappeared. But the thing is, this didn't just happen in China. This was actually reported in many other countries. And when you strip it down, the ghost driver phenomenon was fairly simple. Someone found a policy loophole, figured out a reliable way to trigger it, and scaled a method before it became visible. It would make it memorable. It's the reactions that it would have on the people trying to order the rides. Imagine trying to order at Uber late at night, and you look at the driver that you ordered's profile picture, and you see one of these images. It would really make someone second guess if they really wanted to get in the same car as this person. And by the time Uber left China, the ghost drivers had mostly disappeared, the loophole closed. And still, it remains one of the strangest phenomenons I've ever seen. A scam that wasn't really trying to terrorize anyone, but the result made many of the riders that ordered almost traumatized.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard of that, but at least that one's light-hearted, question mark. It's just some goofy nonsense to scam people. And not anything too malicious. I mean, scamming's bad, but compared to, you know, what could be happening in these videos, it might as well be heaven, right? In comparison to, like, at least you're not being, you know, eliminated, assaulted, anything in between. The Hangzhou disappearance. Don't know if I know this. Of course, I don't know.
The Sambao residential complex in Hangzhou.
Oh, this is like way too loud for me. Hold on. Need to turn that down. This building looks familiar.
Looks like the kind of place where nothing bad ever happens. Modern high-rise.
Let me take a guess. This is the one where the father, question mark, pushes his kids out the window. I'm just going to take a guess. If not, that's something that's happened, by the way.
Gated entrances, cameras that are everywhere from the lobby, elevators, parking garage. Every single gate in and out. People who live there say they feel safe because there's nowhere to go unseen. On July 4th, 2020, at approximately 5:04 p.m.
Okay, 6 years ago.
51-year-old Lai Huili walked through one of those gates carrying grocery bags. The cameras caught her entering. She went upstairs to the apartment she shared with her husband and their 12-year-old daughter. And by morning, she was gone. Just gone. Wearing only her nightgown, no shoes, no phone, no wallet, nothing. Her husband, Zhu, told police he woke up and she simply wasn't there.
Okay, no, now I know what this one is. Spoilers. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it, but suspicion on this man.
Figured that she stepped out. Hours passed, and a full day passed, and on July 6, Lai's adult daughter from her previous marriage refused to accept the story and reported her missing. Police would pull every minute of surveillance from the complex. More than 6,000 hours reviewed by over 100 officers. And when they made the announcement, it lit the entire country on fire. Not a single camera showed Lai leaving the building. Not the lobby camera, not the elevator, not the parking garage or any gate. She'd walked in at 5:04 p.m. carrying groceries, and according to every single camera on that complex, she never came out again. And what followed was one of the most intense outbreaks of public obsession China had seen in years. The hashtag spread across Weibo within days. Over 1 billion views. Residents of the building started filming their own walkthroughs, showing just how thorough the camera coverage really was.
I believe the dad was like making a big fuss too, and like being like really upset about it and trying to like find her or what have you. And spoilers, you can just skip past me talking right now. In like a minute, I believe this is the one where did he get rid of her? Like, did he? I think we're far enough in. We're 16 minutes in. Did he kill her and then dump her body in the toilet, or was he cooking her? I don't remember. There's so many like horrible things that happen to people. I think this is the one where he was trying to get rid of her in the, via the toilet, and so they checked the sewers, I think, and that's how they found out. I'm gonna go with that. It could be the food, a food path as well, because you just don't know. These stories end up mixing together once you've seen enough of them.
Which only deepened the mystery. If every angle was covered, how? Diagrams of the complex circulated online, people searching for literally anything where a gap might exist. Some people believe she left voluntarily after a fight. Her social media from earlier months hinted at tension in the marriage. But still, a middle-aged woman leaving in the middle of the night with no shoes, no phone, no money, no record of taxi or hotel, or literally any digital footprint anywhere, doesn't seem very realistic. She completely vanished from inside the building that she'd never left. But meanwhile, her adult daughter was not theorizing. She was continuing to push. She knew her mother her whole life, and she knew the woman that raised her just didn't wander off into the night with just her nightgown. While hundreds of thousands of people debated blind spots and supernatural explanations, her husband Zhu was giving interviews. He was 55, and he and Lai had a history that stretched back decades. They dated in the late 1980s before splitting when he joined the military. Both went on to marry other people and have children separately, and then would eventually reconnect and marry in 2008. He had an adult son from his first marriage. She had an adult daughter, who is now demanding police treat this as something more than a domestic walkout. And the two of them had a 12-year-old who had been home the night of July 4th. In front of cameras, Zhu gave tearful appeals, posted missing person notices, even offering a 100,000 yuan reward, around $15,000, for any information on his wife.
That's what I was saying. He's making a big fuss about it, about finding her to make it seem like he didn't do anything.
He was
like
present,
wasn't him.
He was visible, and he was, by all appearances, a man consumed with finding someone he loved. But people watching the interview noticed something underneath the performance they couldn't quite name at first, and it crystallized to two things he kept coming back to. She definitely didn't go out alone. With her intelligence, she couldn't have left by herself.
Okay, so he's insulting her intelligence? Question mark. Which could be seen as like him bad-mouthing her and not actually being concerned that she is low intelligence, just that he's just being mean or being spiteful to be spiteful.
Not where could she be? Not I don't understand what happened. It was almost as if the question of how she left the building wasn't a mystery to him at all, because he already knew she hadn't left. Online,
sure, as well as that.
Theory started to shift, and police, who had spent days interviewing residents across 379 households and 6 buildings, started searching sewage systems, underground parking, and balconies, but found nothing. But police were also starting to watch Zhu. On July 10th, 6 days after Lai's disappearance,
So they did check the sewers.
a suggestion appeared on Weibo that would become one of the most talked about moments in the case. Check the household water usage. Whether investigators were already looking at it, or whether the public tip actually accelerated things is unclear. But what's certain is when police finally did pull water records for Zhu's apartment, they found something that couldn't be explained away. A typical day for a family of 3 in that unit was around 400 to 600 liters of water.
Okay.
This is normal and unremarkable household water use. But on the night of July 4th, the apartment used approximately 4,000 liters.
Oof. Jesus Christ.
Nearly 10 times the 400 to 600 liters a family of 3 would normally go through in an entire day. All of it being consumed in a single night, while Lai was supposed to just have simply wandered off in her nightgown. It almost seemed like someone had spent hours washing something they desperately needed gone. So police returned to the apartment with luminol. For Zhu himself, he'd been through enough, the results came back inconclusive. But the
Luminol, by the way, is stuff you spray on to its surfaces to make blood and other bodily fluids sometimes shine, especially when hit with a black light.
water records had already told them what the cameras couldn't. Something definitely happened in that apartment, and it had taken an extraordinary amount of water to deal with. And the decision that followed would take 25 hours in brutal July heat to carry out. They were going to drain the entire residential complex's septic tank. And after hours of work, what they found in that tank confirmed what the water records had already suggested. DNA analysis identified tissue fragments in the remains. They belonged to Lai. And on July 23rd, 2020, 19 days after she disappeared, Zhu was arrested. And he would...
Yeah, like I said, this is that one where, again, like he got rid of her for some reason and then put her down the toilet, I would assume.
confess within just hours. On the night of July 4th, Zhu had put sleeping pills into his wife's bedtime milk. When she lost consciousness, he would suffocate her with a pillow, then move her body into the bathroom and dismember her. Their 12-year-old daughter was home that night. Whatever she heard, whatever she knew, Zhu would later threaten her into silence. The disposal took the rest of the night. Zhu used a household meat grinder, the kind normally used for making meatballs, to mince large parts of the body into small pieces so that they could be flushed down the drains more easily. Some remains he bagged and left in the building's trash bins, collected before police ever began searching. The rest went down the drains, carried through the pipes by 4,000 liters of water, eventually settling in a septic tank, where it would sit for 19 days, while over 1 billion people online tried to solve the mystery of where...
Also, I'm kind of like thinking, is it normal to be able to just give exact, accurate numbers about how much this exact location in an apartment complex uses? Is that normal? Where does that happen at? Is it just a China thing, or is it like everywhere? Like, and just like, yeah, you use this much. I mean, obviously the water company has to know how much to charge you, but still.
Lai had gone. And through all of it, the interviews, the missing person notices, 100,000 yuan reward offer, Zhu kept showing up on camera as the devastated husband, searching for answers he already had. He played it nearly perfectly, but the water...
How much was he going to be charged that month for that? I mean, assuming he didn't actually... Let's get rid of the fact that he got rid of someone. Let's say the wife's still alive, and he just was using the 4,000 gallon, or not 4,000, 4,000 liters for something else. How much would that cost? If like 400 to 600 is the normal, I guess it wouldn't be that much, because technically that's just 10 days worth of water in one day, I'm guessing. So it'd be a large sum, but not that much. I was thinking, well, is he going to pay like hundreds and hundreds of more dollars or whatever? But like, no, wouldn't have been the case.
Water was one thing he couldn't control. You can scrub a bathroom. You could bag evidence and leave it for the garbage truck. You could sit in front of a camera and perform the grief. But the water meter recorded every liter. And as for the murder, this wasn't just a random explosion. It was the endpoint of something that had been building for years. Zhu and Lai's marriage meant accumulating pressure from multiple directions. His stock trading was failing. Debts were starting to grow. Their blended family dynamic was strained. 2 sets of children from previous relationships. And the breaking point came in 2019 when their village was demolished as part of an urban development. As compensation, they received 2 apartments. A smaller, 55 square meter unit where they lived, and a larger 110 square meter apartment being renovated. Zhu wanted to live in the larger one with his adult son from his first marriage, but Lai refused. She wanted it secured for the daughter they shared. And their dispute would never resolve, as it only calcified. And their dispute didn't resolve as it only started to build. And on top of it, Zhu started to feel shut out of decisions about their daughter's education. The child was falling behind academically, and Lai wouldn't let him intervene in the way he wanted. And over time, he accumulated grievances, very steadily, that never had a resolution. In court, he would claim the murder happened in the heat of an argument. He stated, "I loved her, and I hated her. Killing her is the only way." But he had purchased sleeping pills in advance, acquired tools for...
I'm guessing that makes it premeditated, is what we're saying with that, because he did all this in advance.
Dismemberment before July 4th, and used nearly 4,000 liters of water, not in panic, but in method. This wasn't just a man who snapped. This was clearly a man who planned, prepared, and performed innocence for 19 days while police searched the building around him. Zhu's trial opened on May 14th, 2021. He confessed but pushed for psychiatric evaluation, trying to frame it as a psychological breakdown rather than a calculated act.
Why? I mean, is anyone even going to believe that? Question mark.
But of course, the court would reject it.
Yeah, of course.
They found he behaved normally in the lead up to the murder, and he had a clear, realistic motive. And the verdict was...
Yeah, I mean, he was just like, this was completely calculated, right? Completely premeditated.
Come down on July 26, 2021. Death penalty.
Oof.
The court had described his murder as premeditated, rooted in accumulated resentment over finances and family conflict, and characterized Zhu as extremely vicious and ruthless. Over 1 billion people followed this case, watched the building walkthrough videos, argued over camera blind spots, and impossible exits, to completely turn this woman's death into an internet puzzle that everyone was waiting for a satisfying answer. And the one thing everyone trusted to keep people safe, the cameras, was exactly what finally betrayed him. They covered every gate, every hallway, every entrance and exit, What they couldn't cover was what was happening behind the apartment door. And because of that only left one outcome on where she could have gone. She never left the building because she never had the chance to. And by the time her daughter reported her missing, by the time 100 officers sat down to review 6,000 hours of footage, it was already too late. The answer wasn't somewhere in the surveillance system, it was in the water meter. Heavy surveillance can protect you when you're outside, but it cannot protect you from what's already happening inside your own home.
Flower girl case. Wait. Twin does one? As well?
Zhang Jijin was 9 years old, a second-grade student from Qingji village in Zhejiang province. Her father, Zhang Jun, worked away in Tianjin. Her mother worked in Dongguan and hadn't seen her in years, so Jijin was raised mostly by her grandparents, who ran a small fruit stand outside a local hotel. Guests came and went constantly, and no one thought twice about a familiar face at that stall. She was what people in China call a left-behind child, raised by grandparents while the parents work elsewhere. It's a situation tens of millions of families live in. According to her grandparents, she trusted people easily, especially adults who were friendly to her. On June 10th, 2019, 2 people from Huazhou City in Guangdong province checked into the hotel.
Yeah, I don't know what this one is. I thought this might have been something else, but I don't know what this one is.
Yanghua, 43 years old, and Jie Yangfeng, 45. They'd been together since 2005, and by the time they arrived, they'd spent months drifting, with no steady work and no fixed address. Nothing but debt. On social media, they posted about fresh starts and new chapters, and in practice, they were running out of both money and road, and it was beginning to show. And over the following weeks, they became regulars at the grandparents' fruit stall, chatting quite casually, smiling at Jijin, paying just enough attention that the family stopped seeing them as outsiders, almost until the word stranger had quietly stopped applying to them. On June 29th, they asked to rent a room inside the grandparents' house. The hotel was too expensive, they said. The grandparents would actually agree. After that, they bought Jijin toys, helped with small tasks around the house, and folded themselves into the daily rhythm of the home.
I don't know where this is going, because he's framing it as like they're slithering into good graces, question mark. And not just like, oh, they're just doing something normal. It's like they're doing this with a plan. Again, not to reuse the word premeditated, but there's some sort of premeditated plan to slither their way into the grandparents' place. But it's like they're grandparents. Well, I don't know why they're acting like that's a bad thing to be like, hey, Gramps, can we come to your house? Like, we're having a hard time. Can you let us in there? Like, I feel like that's not that crazy. Like, that's this family. I might be confused on like what's happening here. Maybe like the grandparents aren't their grandparents, so they're just using that word as like, you know, elderly people there, but I don't know.
By the time 3 weeks had passed, they positioned themselves exactly where they needed to be. On July 3rd, Liang and Jie asked to take Jijin on a trip with them. The story was a wedding in Shanghai. She could be the flower girl, and there'd be a small reward for the family.
I think it's supposed to be weird because the child, I'm guessing, was already living with the grandparents, and the parents show up and are like, hey, we're having a rough time. Can we come live with you? And they're like, okay, cool. That's fine. Question mark. So that's why I guess that's why it feels weird. But again, it's like they are your grandparents, and you already gave your child to them to take care of for who knows how long. So having you come over and stay for some time seems normal. But I guess I could see how it seems weird, because it's almost like, hey, you dumped your child off on us, and now you want us to take care of you too as well.
Jijin's father reached by phone, said no. He didn't know these people well enough, and something about the request didn't sit right with him. But they didn't stop there. They went back to the grandparents, reassured them, until the resistance wore down. The grandfather tried to go with them.
I'm so confused. Maybe these two aren't aren't her parents. Hold on, let me cut and go back. I think these two aren't her parents. That's what's weird. Yeah, I went back and it's like, yeah, these two people are just strangers. I didn't catch that. So these just two strangers held up at a hotel. Down on their luck, they come over to this flower shop. They're hanging out with the girl, treating her nice, like she's their daughter. They ask her grandparents if they can live with them, which is weird. It's incredibly weird to be like, hey, man, the hotel sucks. Can we come live with y'all for a bit? When they are complete strangers, but they let it happen anyways. And I think they called the little girl's dad, and he was like, nah, that's not cool for them to take her on some sort of trip. So the parents are still around. It's just they're doing the working thing, right?
But they didn't stop there. They went back to the grandparents, reassured them, until the resistance wore down. The grandfather tried to go with them. He wanted to, and at first they would actually agree, and then right before they left, they pulled back. The wedding was urgent, they said, and he would just slow them down. He tried to follow his gut, but he didn't. And on the morning of July 4th, around 6:30 a.m., they left for Zhejiang. But they didn't go to Shanghai. For 3 days, they drifted in ride-hailing cars and cheap motels.
Like, what is their motive? I don't know what they're going to do with a child. Do they just want to steal a child and have her to themselves? Like, do they just want a kid, or is it more malicious than that? They're going to sell her off, or like it's any number of things that she could be sold off into, you know, organs, trafficking, you know, take your pick, right?
Zigzagging across cities. They were always moving before anyone could pin down where they were, always staying just outside the father's reach. Liang posted a video of Zhejiang playing on a beach. A second post from that same day showed her
The father's reach, which implies the father's like trying to get her back, right? Because it seems like the dad doesn't care. He's just like having to work, question mark. Because he said, "Hey, no." So I mean, he's actually like, you could argue that's him caring, even though he's left her off with the grandparents. But it might be just because he literally has to work day in and day out, and there's no one around. Because we're not talking about the mother at all. We keep talking about the dad. So I'm assuming the mom's not around. Either dad or she just ran off, right? So the dad can't take care of her because he has to work all day. So that's why she's at the grandparents.
sleep in the backseat of a car. The caption reading, "I have adopted a daughter."
Okay, so again, is this adoption or is it you going to sell her off? Because it's almost like they're taunting with posting photos of someone they stole. Like, hello? Isn't that kind of dumb?
And then it was quickly deleted. Completely out of context, and it could almost pass for a weird joke. But it wasn't. Liang actually expressed fixation on having a child repeatedly over time, and actually had documented mental health issues connected to that obsession. Clearly the post wasn't a joke. It was a direct line into what this trip was really about. All the while, Jijan's father kept calling.
Okay, so the wife is mentally unwell and wants a child, and I'm guessing the husband is just playing along with her, potentially playing along with her delusions, and was like, fine, sure, we'll kidnap a kid, and you can have a daughter.
Asking where they were, when she was coming home, why the story kept changing. During one of those calls, Jijan was crying. She told her father she wanted to come home, and then the line went dead. Liang simply said his phone had run out of power, and that was the last conversation between them. They arrived in Ningbo on July 6th and checked into a hotel near the station at 10:54 p.m. On the morning of July 7th, they hired a car and spent the day moving through tourist areas. Liang uploaded one more video as Jijan. Later on, surveillance would show the timeline of where exactly they were going. First, it shows them all three near a hotel entrance, cameras placing them again near a construction site. Witnesses even report seeing them near the Sunrise Pavilion sometime after that. Jijan was being carried, tired or asleep. No one thought anything of it. Surveillance again picks up Liang as Ye again, but this time, Jijan was not with them. Neither were any of her belongings.
Okay, so they got rid of her. This was 2019, 7th month, 7th day, oddly enough, that it's the 7th day of the 7th month, question mark. So they did sell her off, or got rid of her because she might have been annoying, who knows?
Police determined that somewhere between those 3 hours, she was killed, and her body was put into the sea, approximately 6 kilometers off Shipu Harbor. Autopsies.
It's like, why? Why did they do that? Like I was saying, maybe she was like bothering them. They're like, well, never mind, right? Because they were saying the wife is unwell, question mark. But you would have hoped like maybe they just wanted a kid, and this wouldn't have ended up like this, and they were just going to steal her and take care of her for the rest of her life. But no, they ended up getting rid of her for like no good reason.
These would later confirm signs of restraint and struggle. She didn't drown by accident. Someone clearly held her under. Shortly after, Liang and Jie took a taxi back to the lake, and around 2:01 a.m. on July 8th, they walked into the water together. Witnesses said they tied their coat sleeves together before going under, a deliberate act to make sure neither could turn back, and their bodies were recovered that morning. Autopsy.
Okay, so they, what do you call this? It's not like a, murder and side together, it's just them doing it together.
From alcohol in both of their systems. Investigators concluded that the had been planned for months, and because they died that night, there would never be a trial.
So what is it? They just wanted to take care of a child for a few days, and then just off all of them together? Like, what? Was that the plan?
Testimony. No cross-examination, and no actual motive stated under oath. Just a set of facts with no one left to explain them. And now, no trial means no official narrative, and no official narrative means people build their own. And because the motive was never confirmed by the people who carried it out, the theories would spread fast. People suspected that Liang Jie were organ traffickers who sold her before they died. That the wedding story was a cover for a cult ritual. Maybe the whole thing was
Well, didn't we say we found the body? So that's not true. The organ trafficking thing.
The ghost marriage. People even stating that Liang was a serial offender who had done this before in Guangdong. But of course, police would publicly address this all, that there was no evidence of any of this. But when you strip away the rumors, what's left is colder than any of the conspiracies. There was really no elaborate scheme here. They were just two people with nothing left who decided a little girl's life was something they could take. They didn't need to do anything unusual to do it. All they needed was time, patience, and a family that trusted what they could see. It just looked like kindness at first. And the scariest part about the case is that it didn't even look like a crime at all. But of course, it's just a simple reminder, you can't always trust people that you don't fully know.
Wait, I mean, of course, this entire thing shouldn't have happened, right? It's like two strangers show up, and then 3 weeks later, like, hey, can we take your granddaughter on a trip? Question mark. Like, who would do that in the first place? Let that happen in the first place. The grandparents must be like devastated, because they let that happen, and then the dad, who knows what's going to happen to him, knowing that his daughter was taken, right? Whilst he's off somewhere trying to make money, potentially for them. We assume the dad's a good guy, right? We don't have to assume he's bad. It's just because he has to work every day, right? He's just working every day to get money for her. So he spent all that time trying to get all this money for his daughter, and it's like, oh, some strangers just kidnap her from your grandparents or from your parents, because they're his parents, right? And they kill her, and it's like, wow, what is my life amounted to then at that point, right? So you'd have to be like worried that he might go as well. And who knows if he even like talks to his parents anymore? Like that could have just like ruined the entire family, right? Because he might like blame them. I know we're getting like into the weeds of like talking about all this stuff, but yeah, I think it's just like they both are crazy. We'll just say it's not just a wife, but they're both crazy, and they're like, hey, we want to take care of a child for X amount of time, and then we're just going to off each other afterwards, question mark. Like that was the plan from the get-go. Find a kid, take care of her for a little bit to act like a family, and then all die together. Shandong chemical explosion.
Gaomi's the kind of city most people outside of China have never heard of. It sits in Weifang, a mid-sized prefecture in the Shandong province, on China's eastern coast. It's inland enough to feel removed from the coastal industrial giants, but connected enough to be home to serious manufacturing. And the city is known for its industrial circles, as it's known for chemicals. And the Renhe Chemical Industrial Park on the outskirts of Gaomi, Shandong Yadao Chemical Co., runs one of the largest pesticide production facilities in the country. More than 500 people work there. The company manufactures pharmaceutical chemicals and agricultural compounds. In the morning of March 27, 2025, it was a normal workday. People were at their stations, the plant was running. And somewhere in the workshop area, a mechanic was doing his job on top of a large chemical storage tank. And then everything changed in about 10 seconds. 10:57 a.m. Security cameras were recording when it happened. The footage shows a worker standing on top of a chemical storage tank. He's elevated.
I don't see anything. Question mark. Like, what am I looking at? Because this could be a person, that could be a person. Like, I don't know if that's pointing to a person or what. But this is like that, so this is not a person. Is it this? And it's just no pointing here, because there's nothing it's pointing at. This is just this big strip here in the way. So I don't know what it's pointing at. It's just like, hey, look over here, I guess.
Exposed. In part of the infrastructure that runs across the plant's tank farm, there's nothing in his posture that suggests that he knows what's coming, as he's just working. And then something changes. He reacts, fast, without hesitation.
Okay, so it is him here.
The tank and hits a narrow metal gangway that runs alongside it. And he
then this black stuff is spewing out.
starts running, a full sprint along a gangway that is maybe about a meter wide, suspended in the air, connecting his tank to the one adjacent to it. And just seconds after he clears the first tank, it explodes. The fireball is enormous, and the gangway he just crossed disappears in flames. The area where he'd just been standing just moments earlier is completely engulfed. He reaches the neighboring tank, and the camera loses him in the chaos of what follows. The clip is 10 to 15 seconds long, and it looks like a scene from a movie film from how bizarre it actually looks. The blast itself didn't stay contained inside the workshop area, Buildings several kilometers away shook. Windows shattered in structures more than 2 to 3 kilometers from the plant. Thick columns of orange and black smoke rose high enough to be visible for miles. And over 200 firefighters were dispatched to the scene. Rescue teams moved through the plant searching for workers. And the cleanup and the rescue operations would last for days. And when it was over, the count stood at 5 people killed, 19 injured, and 6 still missing from the final reports from late of May 2025. The mechanic from the video was not publicly named. The Chinese authorities and company did not want to release his identity, and most of the coverage treated the footage as evidence of a miraculous escape, which is what the video shows, of a man clearing the tank before it erupted. But still, the overall blast itself was large, and there were multiple casualties across the plant, even several feet away from where the actual explosion happened. And whether the man actually made it through the rest of the incident without injury has never been officially confirmed.
Guess we don't know if anything's happened to him. I feel like that means like China was like, hey, you goofed up, we're going to eliminate you and not let anybody know that we got rid of you. Like they just erased him off the map. And by erased, like, you know what I mean? Like he's no longer with us, even though he made this crazy once in a lifetime escape from danger. China was like, good job, but now we're going to kill you, right? Because he goofed up big time. I don't even know exactly what's happening here, because there was a massive explosion, but it didn't even look like that explosion was this explosion. So I was confused on where that other explosion came from. Because this is a chemical explosion, or is it like gas? Because like, is it gas underneath like all of where this is, and the fire just traveled through all the pipes in the entire city, and that's what caused the bigger explosion further on, or what?
The video would just end with him reaching the neighboring tank, and whatever happened after that has never been publicly said. And as for the...
Because like when I was thinking about that, I was like, is this they called Preacher? Is that what that TV show is called? I don't know. I think it's called Preacher. Something like that. Spoilers for that show if you have not seen it. Again, spoilers for the end of the first season. Spoilers for the end of the first season of the show called The Preacher. I think it's called The Preacher. Like I think the main character leaves this city, and I believe the sewage plant, which is connected to everything in the entire city, blows up somehow. I don't remember how it works. Like it's just like the whole underground of the city just blows up, killing everybody in the city. It's just a crater. Like it got nuked. Like literally got nuked off the planet. I don't even know if like the main character ends up knowing that this happened. Like he just goes through the rest of his life not knowing that his hometown got turned into a crater. Question mark. Because he was already left, right? Which is kind of weird. Like the show has a finite end, right? It ends. It hard ends. The ending kind of sucks, but it hard ends, right? So you could argue he's like, it feels like he just never found out that the moment he left that place, it just got nuked off the map. Question mark. So like was wondering if something similar to that, is that even something that can even happen in real life? I doubt it, but there probably is some sort of like major worst case scenario where all the stuff that's underground, everything in the city just hits like singularity of worst case scenario, and the whole town just blows up.
For the plane itself, Chendong Yado operated for many years before May 27th and employed over 500 people. And from many Chinese media reports following the explosion, they noted the plant had received safety violation citations in the months before the blast even happened. The specifics of the violations were never fully detailed in the available reportings, but it clearly paints a picture of a serious issue that probably could have been solved earlier. And as for the explosion itself, it has never been officially stated of what actually caused it. And of course, for the 5 people killed, their names have never been officially released. As for the 6 workers listed as missing, they still have not been publicly named. And the mechanic from the video has still not been identified, and there's no actual confirmation if he actually survived the full incident without injury. But what isn't unknown is the 5 families who lost someone that morning.
I mean, look how big this explosion is compared to what we saw in the video.
19 people who were injured, and 6 families that are still waiting for answers at the end of May. And somewhere in Galmi, a mechanic whose name the public doesn't know possibly ran fast enough to survive something that should have killed him. The video possibly making him famous without him knowing. It gave millions of people 10 seconds of his worst morning and nothing else. Not his name, not his voice, and no actual account of what it felt like to sprint across a burning gangway while a fireball rose behind him.
Because, like, when I say that, assuming that he did make it, all this fire, when this fire just ignite whatever's in this canister and blow that up, and then or blow up any other canister, so like he's just not going to be safe no matter what. I don't know how these things work, but again, I feel like China was like, hey man, you've really screwed up here. And so we're gonna have to get rid of you. We're gonna have to make you disappear. Room that changed itself.
Some of the strangest stories on the Chinese internet don't always come from true crime or heavily reported events in the Chinese news. Some come from ordinary people who one day noticed something impossible in their everyday life. It was posted on Dalbin in 2013 by a young woman staying at her friend's company dormitory
2013 is a long time ago.
in Beijing. What she experienced and photographed still has people arguing more than a decade later. A story about how furniture moved itself. The friend worked at a design company and lived in the largest upstairs room of a company-provided duplex apartment. The room had perfectly symmetrical layouts, radiators on both walls beside the entrance, an air conditioner directly opposite of the sliding door. If the bathroom door across the hallway was open, you could see straight to the mirror from the bedroom, something that the friend would find creepy at night. The author visited for 2 or 3 days in late June. As soon as she walked in, she noticed the furniture arrangement clearly. The bed and the bedside table were on the right side of the room. On the left side were a glass cabinet, a black piano, and a computer desk with a computer. She would take several selfies in front of the mirror and the computer desk. Ordinary photos, nothing special. She stayed a couple of...
Is she taking a picture of her nails, or is this some sort of like proof of concept? Like, hey, here's my hand superimposed over the desk of this computer.
days, and nothing unusual happened, and she left. A few weeks later in July, the author went back for another short stay, and the moment she stepped inside, she froze.
I feel like censoring the mirror there makes it seem more inappropriate than it actually is.
Everything was reversed. The bed and the bedside table were now on the left side. Cabinet, piano, and computer desk were now on the right side. She laughed and joked. You must have had a lot of free time, moving all this heavy furniture around. Her friend gave her a confused look, like she was crazy. The friend insisted that she had never moved anything. The room had always looked exactly like this. But the author kept pressing. She reminded her friend how the bed was on the right side last time. The friend got impatient and said, yes, I'm just bored, so I wanted to change the layout. But the author knew how heavy that bed, glass cabinet, and piano were. Why would someone who worked overtime every day and complained about being tired spend their only free weekend moving furniture instead of resting? Something didn't feel right. And the author had proof. She showed her friends a selfie she had taken during the...
Okay. So again, we have the hands in front of that. So first visit, second visit. Okay, so we have like the bed here and the bed over there, the dresser here, dresser there. And the hand, I guess it's facing this way. Now it's facing that way. I don't know, because like you can obviously just mirror photos. So without some sort of thing to show that it's not that, like what do you do, right? Actually, you can see the keyboard. So I guess there's that. The keyboard looks like it's facing the right way, so it's not mirrored. So yeah, I don't know. Because that's the only thing you can be like, okay, that actually has to look a certain way. If it's backwards, you can tell it's backwards. But see, the space is here, which is where it should be. The space is there, I think, where it should be, so... With the desk, it doesn't really matter though, right? Because you could just take this and scooch it over to the right. But the mirror, it's just like hard work to do that. But there's no thing in either of them other than their body. And their body's censored, so we can't really gain anything from that.
The first visit. One in front of the computer desk on the left, one beside the bed on the right. And then she took the exact same photos during the second visit. The angles were now completely opposite. Her friend's response was, you took the photos and used Photoshop to mirror them to scare me. The author was stunned. Even with the photos right in front of her, her friend remained 100% convinced that the room had never changed, and that the bed had always been on the left. And then...
Maybe it's because the friend has seen this before, and she's like in denial?
In early August, another friend stayed over for a few days. That friend would take a casual photo of the room while playing with the cat on the air conditioner. The angle clearly showed the bed was on the right side again. The original...
On the right side? I can't tell, it's so bad.
That nothing had ever moved. She said her memory was clear, that the bed had always been on the left. The author even messaged his second friend directly and got a confirmation that yes, during those days in August, the bed was definitely on the right. 3 separate visits, 3 different furniture layouts, photographic evidence each time. For the person who lived there every single day swore on her life that nothing had ever changed. And there's one strange thing the friend had mentioned. One night when she was alone in the apartment, while all her colleagues were away on business, she heard noises downstairs, and she was too scared to stay in her own room because the sliding door wouldn't lock properly. So she ran into a colleague's room next door, locked herself in, and hid under the covers. When she opened her own sliding door, she saw the bathroom door across the hallway, wide open. Even though she was certain she had closed it earlier, the lock required turning the handle. Wind possibly could not have done it. She stayed up all night, too terrified to sleep, and only left when the sun came back up. The author never experienced that incident herself, so she can't confirm it. But combined with the moving furniture, it only made the whole situation feel more unsettling. Almost 10 years later, the author updated the post in 2020. Nothing bad ever happened to her friend. She eventually...
Well, really? Like, hey, I'm going to talk about this 10 years, almost 10 years later again.
moved away from Beijing and got a new job, and is doing fine. And the two of them still get together for drinks once in a while, to laugh about the weird
Sunflowers
story.
again.
The author still believes in science, but after seeing the photos and living through those visits, she has a sense for things that science can't easily explain. She would never find a satisfying answer. There was no gaslighting, prank, or memory trick that would make sense. Just furniture that somehow moved by itself, at least 3 different times, while the person living there swore it never moved at all.
Is that gonna be it? Yeah, that's it. Not using the question mark today. Like, not ending it with the big question mark on the screen. Well, that is going to be that. So with that one, it's just like a supernatural nonsense, but you could just argue that the friend is pranking, right? It doesn't have to be anything more than that. Or the entire story is just like fake to begin with for whatever reason, and they're just goofing off. There's so many layers of it really doesn't matter if it's real or not, that you know, that's it. It doesn't matter if it's real or not. Because, you know, it could have been the friend, the entire story could be made up, etc., etc. It's just like, yeah. So, yeah, that's that. So we have a couple stories now that are like fine, you know, a little bit of lightheartedness. So the first one was just the Uber stuff. The last one with the room changing, which doesn't really matter. But then, of course, we have the Kyungjo one and Flower Girl and the chemical one. Chemical one is just unfortunate accident, question mark. But these two are not, of course. And this one's famous, I think. The Hangzhou one, because I knew this one. So there is that. I mean, we're always going to have unfortunate things that happen in these videos, but I think rarely do we see ones where people don't die, right? You know, this was as lighthearted as anything has ever been in these videos, right? And then this one, I mean, this one is even like less, because like nothing happened. Like this is a crime, at least, but this is just like something spooky might have happened, but it's probably fake, so whatever, right? So yeah, I guess it's at least nice to see some stuff that isn't just miserable things, you know, a little bit of lightheartedness, quote unquote, with our misery, question mark. Well, yep, that is going to be it for today. So yeah, cuties, thanks for watching. Remember to, oops, did not mean to turn that on. Remember to buy my stickers, think about becoming a member, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, so you can watch them and subscribe. And over it, we have a throne now as well. And shout out to the members, EmmyStarr, RaleyDrew, and alexgkiller 880. Hey, goodies, thanks for watching. Tune to the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment. You know what to do. See ya.